I'm Carlos Santana, and I play the guitar. My name is Zach Braff, and I'm an actor. I've been involved in crowdsourcing myself, both on Kickstarter, which I discovered and thought was genius, and another site called Kiva.org, which is a charitable version of crowdsourcing that does microfinance loans across the globe. And I've been loaning money on there for years, and I thought it was revolutionary and fascinating. And then Kickstarter, I think anyone who joins Kickstarter kind of gets addicted to it. It's so much fun, and you're supporting innovation and new artists, and I really liked it. Give you an example. I backed Revo Lights, which was a bike light. I ride my bike in Manhattan at night, which is, anyone who knows, is pretty insane. And Revo Lights invented these lights that light up your whole tire, so no one could possibly miss you. And I thought it was so cool, and I know nothing about engineering. So I joined Kickstarter, and I backed the lights, and then I started getting these updates. I didn't really fully read the page. I didn't really know I was going to get all these updates. And the updates were videos of them working out the prototype and discussing the problems they're having, and engineering drawings, but explained to the layman. And I loved every single second of it. I just thought it was the coolest thing. I loved it. And so I thought, well, what if there's a version of that for movies? I know that there's plenty of people trying to finance films on there, but what I could do as someone who was known was, it could be win-win. I could finance the film with money for $10 essentially. I could do a year and a half's worth of content like that. I could do behind the scenes videos. I could explain to the layman of who know nothing about making an indie film in the way that the bike light guys had explained to me, someone who knows nothing about engineering, how they were going apart their process. And I thought, for $10, a year and a half's worth of content for my fan base could be really cool, just like I thought this was cool. And I thought, wow, you only would need maybe 20, 30,000 people across the globe, and I have a pretty big social media following, who thought it was cool too, and you could do it. I did not imagine that it would be the success that it's been, and so many people would be interested in it, and it would have all happened in 4 days. I think some of the head scratching and the people being vitriolic, who are detractors or people going nuts about it, is a lot of the fact how quickly it happened, and that it sort of caught some people off guard that it happened. But those of us involved in social media, I think, and we're very web savvy, had to see that this was coming. I hoped that by day 30 I could rally enough supporters to hit the 2 million mark. And 2 million, I want to clear up two things. First of all, it's not a sequel to Garden State. That's something that's getting reported a lot. If those people obviously haven't watched the video where I explain, it's not a sequel. I said it's a sequel in tone, meaning it's the vibe of Garden State that people liked, but it's a totally new group of people. And the other thing is that whatever we raise on Kickstarter is merely one aspect of the budget. I'll be kicking in an ass ton of my own money. Yes, that's a word, ass ton. And there'll be some probably foreign pre-sales of territories to make up a budget that's somewhere between $5 and $6 million. There's another part of this. People were like, "Oh, he went on Kickstarter and got money." That's people who don't follow me. The people who follow me on Facebook or Twitter, or the people who like me on Reddit, know that I engage the fans. I have some, I know some people who are in the public eye, and I'm on Twitter, and they're going, "You read the comments?" And I was like, "You don't?" And I realized some people just post shit and they don't engage. I actually love engaging with my fan base. And they know that. They're smart. They're not idiots. They like it. It's a conversation. It's not me saying, "Hey, check out my new makeup line." And so people can smell bullshit a mile away. Look what happened when Morgan Freeman did that AMA on Reddit. I don't know if people followed that, but there was a huge backlash because it was so clearly a film publicist just writing answers for Morgan Freeman. Whereas my AMAs, I don't hold anything back. Ask me, it's called Ask Me Anything. Ask me anything, I'll answer it. And people know that, they like it, they engage with me. It's a conversation, it's not a monologue. And I've been doing that for years. I was doing that on MySpace. I wrote a blog. My publicist just reminded me that when we released Garden State, people were like, what the hell's a blog? What are you talking about? I didn't know how to update my blog because it was on a website. We had to email what I wanted to write to our web guy who would then post it. On The Last Kiss, you can go look these up on YouTube. We did videos with the cast. No one had done this before. We made videos. I was like, all right, Rachel Bilson's in the movie. I'm going to do a day in the life of Rachel Bilson. And we did these little 2-minute fun, edited, quick movies. I took her and we washed her dog at a dog washing place. And they were huge success and people loved it. Now, you know, I'm not saying that I made it up, but I was definitely one of the first people doing it. And so I've been engaging with this audience since the start. And so that's why I think when this logical thing happened, people were like, yeah, let's do it. I owe them everything. I don't care if you gave $1 or you gave 10 grand. I'm making this movie for you and ostensibly with you. You're coming along on the ride. You're going to be a little GoPro camera on my shoulder experiencing how an independent movie's made. And I think that the reaction you see is that people are fascinated by that and very intrigued. I owe them everything, though. I'm making this under a microscope now, and I think I guarantee you, if you put $10 into this, you are in a year and a half's worth of fun and content, you're going to get your $10 worth. So here's an example of something cool, right? On Sunday, I wrote, hey, I'm listening to Kurt Weill. What are you guys listening to? This was on the community page. That's now over 30,000 people. I thought maybe 100 people would reply. Hundreds of responses of music that people were listening to. All, obviously, if you're in this community and you like the Garden State soundtrack, there's going to be some overlap in the style of music you like. What a cool community. And I thought, let's repost this. So we took all the songs that people had listed, and we're going to post it. So you can scroll through and be like, ooh, I've heard of them, but I haven't checked them out. And all of a sudden it becomes this community. Like you said, someone started a Google Plus thing for this. I got to tell you another thing. In my previous drawing on the page, there's a sketch of this little flying droid that's in the fantasy sequences. It's a sketch. If we can afford it, what I want to do is in these fantasy sequences where this guy imagines he's this great person. You know, part of it is the fantasy that we wish we lived as a kid versus our real life. And he keeps going into this fantasy world where he's this hero. And he has a little flying droid that's sort of his squire. So we have a little sketch of it on the page. This artist in Germany, who I guess is a 3D modeler, did a full 3D spinning model of this droid. I'm gonna post that on the page. Like, look what some amazing artist did in Germany. He just did it for fun. He's excited about this. So there's all that sort of stuff. It feeds on itself. We're going to announce and we go to people like, what else do you guys want? You know, we have a month to go. Is there any other? Obviously, the biggest headline is screenings. I mean, across the globe, we're hoping to expand screenings to Berlin, Rome, Paris. We just added Austin, and vinyl kept coming up. Wouldn't it be cool, since we love the Garden State soundtrack, if you released this on vinyl? So now we're looking at logistics. We're only 3 people doing all of this, so we're looking into logistics of vinyl, and I'm hoping to announce that whilst releasing all this music. So it's way more than making a movie. It's creating this community. You know, we're also isolated now in this day of social media. And in our lives and in our jobs and our work, there's less and less interaction. Part of the reaction to this, and I hope that some people start writing about this in their articles, because I see it very clearly, and the articles really haven't mentioned it much. It's a sense of community. It's a club, and it's a club of like-minded people who are interested in the same thing. If you hate Zach Braff, if you hate me and my Garden State, and you think that it was horrible, this isn't the club for you. if you like Scrubs and Garden State and the things I've done and like movies like I make, this might be a really fun, cool thing for you to be a part of. But that having been said, there is an artist out there for you if you're not a fan of mine, this would be cool for you. So insert whoever your favorite filmmaker or entertainer or musician is, and if they promised you a year and a half of behind the scenes, GoPro on the shoulder content for $10, that might be something you'd be interested in. I sound like Martin Landau on Entourage. Would that be something you'd be interested in? This isn't, and I'll just say again, this isn't a money-making endeavor. I mean, I think people who know me know enough about me, but for those who don't know me, if I wanted to make a lot of money, I would return to a television show with Bill Lawrence. There's a lot of demand for that. There are a lot of people who make a commission of my money who wish that I would do that. That's the logical way for me to go make a lot of money. Making a tiny personal art film is not where people go to make a lot of money. This is a passion project. This is not about trying to scam anybody. Do I feel any additional pressure? Yeah, I didn't realize Saudi Arabia would be watching, and Guam. Yeah, the whole world was watching this, and there's so many haters, hoping it's horrible. Of course, it's under a microscope, but I know I can deliver what the fans want. Garden State was my first movie. I went to film school. Someone gave me a chance to make my first movie. Look what happened to it. All I've been saying for 10 years is like, can I get a second shot? I promise I can do better. I think that Rob Thomas was the first really courageous one with Veronica Mars, and he told me there'd be a lot of detractors, but he said at the same time you have to look at the, I don't know if this was his quote or not, but someone said this, you have to look at the donut and not the hole. Look at the amount of people that are so excited about this and rallied around this. Actually, there was an interesting quote in New York Magazine. You could probably find the article. But he said, the writer said something very interesting, saying, in order to do this, you have to go out in front of the world, and not all the world likes you. It's like a magazine rack. You have to put yourself out there and say, choose me or don't choose me. But the people that don't choose you might choose someone else, but will take great glee in saying how much they abhor you. But in the meantime, there's plenty of people buying your magazine. And I thought that was a really good way to put it. You have to be someone who's willing to go out there in front of people and have them not like it. But all the time that those people are grousing, an extraordinary amount of people are choosing it. Rob was the first one to do that. Amanda Palmer actually was the first person to do that. She got a lot of crap, but got to make her dream album and people loved it. They're going to make a $6 million Veronica Mars movie. It's awesome for people who love Veronica Mars. I think that I don't see how anyone who bought into this project wouldn't love to see financial upside. So but I can't, and I would have done that in a second. I can't legally do that yet. I think anyone who's keeping up knows that that's around the corner. The whole idea of Hollywood Stock Exchange was started with that in mind, and they weren't able to get it passed. But there's been some, and you can refer to this, people way smarter than me are figuring this out. There's a really cool site called Slated that seems to be, from my brief research, where the home base for that is going to be once it becomes legal. It doesn't really matter. I think actually you'd attract more attention because you'd have this group who are investing in my Kickstarter project who want to be involved and support me and like me, and they will do it in any event. They want to do it because it's exciting and it's a part of something new. But then you'll also get people who might not even like me at all, but would buy the stock because they see it's going to be successful. I don't think that the public will rally around something that's corporate, sponsored by some sort of corporation. I think that I think, if a studio tried to do this, I think people would, you think they're upset that I'm doing it. I'm one guy doing it with two friends. I think if any sort of corporation tried to do it, I imagine people would go apeshit. I think it's for people who, it will remain for people who want to do personal projects without corporate involvement. This notion that that this project somehow hurts Kickstarter, and I would say that it's important for people to know who are upset about that Kickstarter had their highest day of traffic ever the day we launched, and a lot of your audience who might be watching this are probably web savvy people. They have to back up a little bit and know that a giant chunk of the earth isn't savvy about crowdfunding and had no idea what the words Kickstarter meant. And so we brought a lot of people to the conversation and to the Kickstarter, and the comments page of my Kickstarter page is filled with people discussing other things they've funded and excitement about discovering this new thing. I would also say that just because we know the analytics of who's joining and giving to me, that these aren't necessarily people that, for the most part, we're giving to other Kickstarter projects. We've brought them into the conversation. They weren't sitting there going, this film or Zach's film. That's just not the truth. So I would like people to know that I think that this is really good for Kickstarter. It makes it a global conversation in a way that it was on its way to become anyway, but opens it to a much larger audience.